June woke up in darkness. His body hurt everywhere. The cold metal floor beneath him was now familiar. Too familiar. He had been in this cell for how long? Weeks? Months? He couldn't remember anymore. He sat up slowly, wincing as pain shot through his ribs. The latest tests had been brutal. The aliens, the Vorn, they called themselves, seemed angry that he hadn't broken yet. "Lights," said a flat voice from the speakers. The cell lit up with harsh white light. June blinked and shielded his eyes with his hand. Through his fingers, he saw the gray walls of his small room. There was nothing in it except a thin sleeping pad and a small toilet in the corner. "Subject 7734, stand for inspection," the voice ordered. June stood up. His legs shook, but he refused to fall. He wouldn't give them the satisfaction. The door slid open. 2 tall Vorn guards entered. Their blue skin seemed to glow under the lights. Behind them came Dak, the head scientist. Unlike the others, Dak's skin was pale green. His 4 eyes watched June with open curiosity. "Fascinating," Dak said. "Your body has already started to heal. The other test subjects would have died." June said nothing. He stared straight ahead, past the aliens, focusing on a spot on the wall. In his mind, he was somewhere else. A beach back home in Busan. The sound of waves. The smell of his mother's cooking. "Your silence does not protect you, human," Dak said. He walked closer, his long fingers holding a small device. "We have ways to make you speak." June's jaw tightened. He remembered the escape attempt 3 days ago. He and 5 other humans had almost made it to the ship bay. But the Vorn were waiting. The others had died fighting. Only June had been taken alive again. "Your friends died for nothing," Dak said, as if reading June's thoughts. "But you continue to resist. Why?" June met Dak's 4 eyes. "Because I'm human." Dak made a sound like laughter. "Yes, human. That is what makes you interesting. The other species we studied break so easily. Their minds snap after only a few days of our tests. But you," he circled around June, "you get stronger." One of the guards pushed June back onto the floor. Dak bent down and placed the small device on June's neck. It stung, and June felt a cold spreading through his veins. "This will help us see your thoughts," Dak explained. "We want to understand why you resist. What makes humans different?" Images flashed in June's mind. His family, his training as a soldier, Earth's blue skies, the day the Vorn ships appeared in orbit, the wars that followed. June fought against the machine. He pictured a wall in his mind, brick by brick, blocking the memories he didn't want them to see. Dak stepped back, his eyes wide with surprise. "Incredible. You're fighting the mind probe." He turned to one of the guards. "Increase the power." Pain exploded in June's head. He bit his lip until he tasted blood, refusing to scream. Then suddenly, the pain stopped. June fell forward, breathing hard. "Enough for today," Dak said. "We must adjust our methods. This human's mind is different." The guards pulled June back onto the sleeping pad. As they left, Dak lingered at the door. "You think you're strong, human," he said, "but everyone breaks eventually. Tomorrow, we try something new." After they left, June lay in the dark. His head pounded, but deep inside, a small flame of hope burned. They didn't understand humans. They didn't know what made people from Earth different. Humans never yield. Not really. Even when it seems like they've broken, something remains, something waits, something plans. June closed his eyes. He thought of home, of Earth, of the promise he'd made to return someday. These memories weren't just comfort. They were his weapons, his shields. "Tomorrow," he whispered to himself. "Tomorrow I'll be ready." And in the darkness of his cell, surrounded by enemies in a place far from home, June smiled. The next day, June was taken to a different room. This one had soft lights and a chair that almost looked comfortable. It was nothing like the cold lab where they usually did their tests. A man sat waiting. He looked human, Korean like June. He wore the same gray uniform as the Vorn scientists, but his eyes were kind. "Hello, June," the man said in Korean. "My name is Han." June stared at him. After months of alien faces, seeing another human was shocking. But June knew better than to trust this. "You're working for them," June said. His voice was rough from disuse. Han nodded. "I am. But I'm also here to help you." The guards pushed June into the chair across from Han. Then they left the room. This was new. The Vorn never left him alone with anyone. "They want me to understand you," Han explained. "The Vorn don't get why humans fight so hard. Other species give up when they see there's no hope." June looked around the room. There had to be cameras watching them. "They're listening," he said. Han smiled. "Yes, but they don't understand Korean very well." He leaned forward. "Their translator program misses things when we speak quickly or use slang." June didn't smile back. "Why are you helping them?" "To stay alive," Han said. Then he added quietly, "and to help others like you when I can." Han placed a tablet on the table between them. "They want me to show you something. A test. But first," he slid the tablet closer to June and quickly flashed a screen with English text. "More humans alive. Resistance forming. Don't give up." Before June could react, Han switched the screen. Now it showed Earth from space. "This is today's test," Han said loudly. "They want you to watch this." The image changed. Vorn ships surrounded Earth. Beams of light shot down to the planet. Cities burned. Oceans boiled. "This happened 3 days ago," Han said. "Earth is gone, June. There's no home to return to." June felt his heart stop. But then he noticed something. The burning cities were all wrong. Seoul was where Busan should be. The continents weren't quite the right shape. This was fake. "I don't believe you," Jun said. Han's eyes widened slightly, impressed. He tapped the tablet, and the image changed to show people in camps, humans being experimented on. "All humans have surrendered," Han said. "You're the last one fighting. There's no point anymore." But Jun saw the mistakes again. The humans had 5 fingers, but their hands were too long. The Vorn didn't know humans well enough to fake this right. "Nice try," Jun said. Han looked at him for a long moment. Then he pressed a button on the tablet. The images disappeared. "He doesn't believe it," Han said, now speaking to the cameras in the Vorn language. "The simulation isn't working." The door opened. Dake entered, his 4 eyes narrowed. "Interesting," the alien scientist said. "Your species has strong reality testing abilities. We will need better simulations." Dake turned to Han. "Prepare the memory extraction device. We need more accurate data about Earth." Han nodded, but as he stood up, he whispered to June in fast Korean. "They're scared of you. Humans are the only ones who can tell what's real. Keep resisting." As guards took June back to his cell, he felt stronger than before. The Vorn were trying new tricks because nothing else had worked. And now he knew something important. He wasn't alone. There were other humans out there. Fighting. Surviving. In his cell, Jum sat on his sleeping pad. The Vorn thought showing him a fake destroyed Earth would break him. Instead, it had given him hope. Their new tests were desperate. And desperate enemies made mistakes. Jun closed his eyes. He would be ready for whatever came next. The Vorn still didn't understand. Humans don't break. They adapt. Far from Jun's cell, deep in the maintenance tunnels of the Vorn space station, a secret meeting was taking place. "We can't wait any longer," Sun said, her voice firm despite her small size. Once a human diplomat, she was now the leader of the resistance. People thought she had died when first contact with the Vorn went wrong. In truth, she had escaped and gone underground. Around her stood aliens from 6 different worlds. All of them had been conquered by the Vorn. All of them had lost their homes. The human prisoner is our best chance, Sun continued. The Vorn are so focused on him that their security is weaker elsewhere. Tak, a tall alien with gray skin, shook his head. One human doesn't matter. We should attack their fuel depot instead. You're wrong, Sun said. This human matters. Every day he resists, he proves the Vorn can be beaten. The other prisoners talk about him. The workers whisper about him. He's becoming a symbol. A door slid open at the back of the room. Everyone turned, hands reaching for hidden weapons. A slim figure entered, wearing a Vorn science uniform. Jin, Sun said with relief. What news? Jin was young for a Vorn. Her blue skin was lighter than most, and she had only 3 eyes instead of 4, a birth defect that had made her an outcast among her own people. The human is still alive, Jin said, and still fighting. Dake is obsessed with breaking him. And the others? Sun asked. Jin's face fell. The other test subjects died in the escape attempt. Only the human called June survived. The room went quiet. More lives lost. The price of resistance was always high. But I have something else, Jin said. She pulled out a small data chip, complete maps of the research wing, and Dek's personal notes about the human experiments. Sun took the chip. This is exactly what we need. Thank you, Jin. Jin looked around nervously. I should go. If they discover I'm helping you. They won't, Sun promised. You're too careful. After Jin left, Sun inserted the chip into their computer. The screen filled with images, charts, and notes. Look at this, she said, pointing. Dek's notes about June. Subject demonstrates unprecedented neural plasticity. Pain threshold exceeds all known species. Memory retention intact despite mind wipe attempts. What does it mean? Asked Ren, a small furry alien from a jungle world. It means, Sun said with a smile, that humans are harder to break than the Vorn expected. And it seems June is exceptional even for a human. She scrolled through more files. Here's the testing schedule. In 2 days, they're moving June to the Deep Lab for advanced neural scanning. Tak leaned forward. The Deep Lab has less security. It's built for science, not holding prisoners. Exactly, Sun said. And that's our opening. She turned to the group. We have 2 days to plan a rescue. We get June out, and we show everyone in this station that the Vorn aren't invincible. It's risky, Ren said quietly. Freedom always is, Sun replied. But I've seen what humans can do when pushed too far. If we can get June on our side, the Vorn will regret ever taking him. The meeting ended with quick, hushed plans. As the others left, Sun stayed behind, studying the images of June from the lab cameras. He looked thin and hurt, but his eyes were still defiant. Hold on a little longer, she whispered. Help is coming. Back in his cell, Jun woke suddenly from a dream about home. He couldn't remember the details, but he felt strange, as if something important was about to happen, as if the universe was shifting. He sat up in the darkness and waited for morning. The next morning, 4 guards came for June instead of the usual 2. They didn't speak as they took him to a part of the station he had never seen before. The walls here were darker, the air colder. They entered a large room filled with strange machines. In the center was a chair with straps and wires. Dake stood beside it, checking a small device in his hand. Ah, Subject 7734, Dek said. Today we try something new. The guards pushed June into the chair and fastened the straps. June didn't fight. He needed to save his strength. Your mind is strong, Dake continued, but all minds have limits. Han entered the room. He didn't look at June as he helped Dake prepare the equipment. We are going to use nanobots, Dake explained. Very small machines that enter your brain. They will change how you think, how you feel. Han placed a helmet on June's head. When he leaned close, he whispered, Don't fight it at first. Let them think it's working. June closed his eyes as Dake injected something cold into his arm. The nanobots will make you see things, Dake said. Things that are not real. But your brain will believe they are. At first, June felt nothing. Then the room began to change. The walls melted away, replaced by the inside of a human ship. June recognized it. It was the Earth defense vessel he had served on before his capture. His crewmates appeared around him. They looked so real. His captain, his friends. Traitor, his captain said. You gave the Vorn our defense codes. No, June said. I never did. Because of you, Earth fell, another crewmate said. Millions dead. June knew this wasn't real, but it felt real. He could smell the ship, feel the floor beneath his feet. We trusted you, his best friend said, aiming a gun at June's chest. You betrayed us all. The pain when the bullet hit him felt real too. June gasped and fell to his knees. More bullets came. More pain. Part of June's mind remembered Han's words. Let them think it's working. So he screamed and begged as his friends shot him over and over. But deep inside, in a hidden corner of his mind, June knew the truth. He built a wall there, a safe place the nanobots couldn't reach. Behind that wall, he was still himself, still fighting. The scene changed. Now he was on Earth, watching Vorn ships destroy his hometown. His family ran from the flames, calling his name, blaming him for their pain. Hours passed this way, scene after scene of betrayal and failure. The nanobots made each one feel completely real. Finally, when June had no voice left to scream, when his body was shaking from exhaustion, something strange happened. His mind shifted. The Vorn monitors showed his brain activity changing. To Doc, it looked like June was finally breaking. But it was something else, something humans could do that the Vorn didn't understand. June had entered a state beyond pain, beyond fear. His conscious mind stepped back, and something deeper took control. His breathing slowed, his heart rate steadied. In the human military, they called it combat dissociation, a survival state where the mind separates from unbearable pain. Look, Dek said excitedly, pointing at the monitors. His brain waves are changing. We have broken him. Han glanced at the readings and then at June's face. Unlike Doc, Han recognized what was happening. This wasn't surrender. It was transformation. Yes, Han said, hiding his true thoughts. The subject appears to be compliant now. Dake smiled with all three of his mouths. Excellent. Tomorrow we begin the reprogramming phase. But as they removed June from the chair, Han noticed something in the human's eyes, a calm, focused clarity that hadn't been there before. The Vorn thought they had broken June. Instead, they had helped him find his greatest strength. The next day, only Han came to June's cell. The guards stayed outside, thinking June was no longer a threat. Good morning, Han said loudly. Time for your checkup. June sat still, his face blank. He looked broken, just as they wanted. But inside, his mind was clear and sharp. Han took out a small medical scanner and ran it over June's body. As he worked, he leaned close. The guards can't hear us, Han whispered. I've blocked the cell cameras for 2 minutes. We don't have long. June didn't move, but he listened carefully. I'm working with the resistance, Han said quickly. Not just any resistance. There's a human leader, Sun. She was a diplomat before the war. June's eyes flickered with surprise. Yes, she's alive. Many humans survived. We're fighting back. Han pressed something small against June's arm. There was a tiny pinch. I just implanted a comm device under your skin. It's too small for Vorn scanners to find. Han pulled back and spoke normally again. Your vitals are stable. Very good. Then he whispered, tonight, when the lights go out, press the spot where I injected you. 3 times, you'll hear Sun's voice. Han packed up his equipment and called the guards back in. Before leaving, he said, the subject is responding well to the reconditioning. He's completely docile now. The guards looked relieved. They had seen what Jun could do when he fought back. Alone again, Jun maintained his empty expression. But inside, hope burned brighter than ever. Other humans were alive, fighting, and now he had a way to reach them. The day passed slowly. Twice, Dake came to observe him. Jun played his part perfectly. He moved slowly when ordered. He showed no emotion. He kept his eyes down. Remarkable, Dake said to his assistant. Yesterday he was still fighting. Today, nothing. The nanobots worked better than expected. Finally, night came. The lights in Jun's cell dimmed. He waited an extra hour to be sure no one was watching. Then he pressed the spot on his arm 3 times. A tiny voice spoke directly into his ear. Jun, can you hear me? This is Sun. Jun was startled but kept his face neutral in case of hidden cameras. Yes, he whispered, barely moving his lips. Thank the stars, Sun said. Han said the treatment was brutal. Are you really okay? I'm okay, Jun said softly. Different, but okay. Listen carefully. Sun continued. You've become important, not just to us, but to everyone fighting the Vorn. The story of the human who wouldn't break has spread through 3 star systems. You're a symbol now. Jun closed his eyes. He hadn't known. He'd been fighting just to survive, just to keep his dignity. Tomorrow they're moving you to the Deep Lab. Sun said. That's our chance. Jin, our Vorn ally, will be there. She's going to help us get you out. How many of us are there? Jun asked. Humans? About 2,000 on this station. Most are prisoners or workers, but we have allies. Other species who hate the Vorn just as much as we do. Jun thought for a moment. I can help from inside. They think I'm broken now. They'll let their guard down. Perfect, Sun said. Jin will contact you tomorrow. She'll explain the plan. For now, rest. And Jun, thank you for not breaking. You've given people hope. The connection went silent. Jun lay back on his sleeping pad, mind racing. For months, he'd thought he was alone, that all other humans might be dead, that his resistance was just for himself. Now he knew better. He wasn't just fighting for his own survival anymore. He was fighting for everyone the Vorn had hurt, everyone they tried to break. And tomorrow, the fight would truly begin. Morning came with a surprise. Instead of Dake or the usual guards, a new group of Vorn entered Jun's cell. They wore different uniforms, black with red markings. Military, not science. Their leader was tall even for a Vorn. 3 of his 4 eyes were scared, and he moved with the confidence of someone used to being obeyed. I am Commander Kyung, he said. You will come with us. Jun kept his act going. He stood slowly, eyes down, moving like someone with a broken spirit. Inside, though, his mind raced. This wasn't part of Sun's plan. The military Vorn took him to a large room Jun had never seen before. It was filled with weapons and combat training equipment. The walls displayed images of battles and Vorn victories. Leave us, Kyung ordered the other soldiers. When they were alone, he circled Jun slowly. So this is the human who caused so much trouble, Kyung said. You don't look special. Jun said nothing, staring at the floor. Dake thinks he broke you, Kyung continued. He's very proud of himself. The scientist who finally tamed a human. Kyung stopped in front of Jun. But I don't think you're broken at all. Jun's heart beat faster, but he kept his face blank. Had his act failed? Kyung picked up a Vorn weapon from a nearby table. Do you know what this is? Jun shook his head slightly. It's a neural disruptor. 1 shot can disable any known species. Kyung held it out to Jun. Take it. Jun hesitated, then slowly reached for the weapon. Was this a trap? If you were truly broken, Kyung said, you would not even consider using this against me. Your eyes would not evaluate its weight, its trigger mechanism, as they are doing now. Jun froze. Kyung had seen through his act. Relax, human. I did not bring you here to expose you. Kyung took the weapon back. I brought you here because I have a proposition. What proposition? June asked, speaking normally for the first time. There was no point in pretending now. The science division wants to study humans, break you, learn your weaknesses, Kyung explained. But the military division sees something different. We see potential allies. Allies? June couldn't hide his surprise. You invaded our worlds. Not my decision, Kyung said, and perhaps not a wise one. Humans fight like nothing we've seen before. Even captured, even tortured, you resist. He walked to a screen on the wall and activated it. It showed battle footage from Earth, humans fighting against overwhelming odds, using creativity and determination to overcome superior Vorn technology. The Empire grows weak with easy victories, Kyung said. We conquer species who surrender at the first show of force. But humans, he turned back to June. Humans make us stronger by fighting back. What exactly do you want from me? June asked. For now, nothing. Continue pretending to be broken. Let Dake believe he succeeded. Kyung's three mouths formed what might have been a smile. A conflict is coming within the Vorn leadership, the science division against the military. When it happens, opportunities will arise. June thought quickly. This could work with Sun's rescue plan, or it could ruin everything. Why tell me this? He asked. Because we respect strength, Kyung said simply. Even in our enemies. A signal chimed, and Kyung checked a device on his wrist. Dake is looking for you. My soldiers will return you to your cell. Remember what I said. As June was led away, his mind spun with new possibilities. The Vorn weren't as united as they seemed. And now, somehow, he had allies in both the resistance and within the Vorn military itself. Tonight, he would tell Sun about this unexpected development. The game had changed. Again. The day of June's transfer to the Deep Lab arrived. As promised, Dake came with 4 guards to move him. Today we begin the final phase, Dake said proudly. We will learn everything about how the human mind works. June kept his head down, playing his role perfectly. As they walked through the corridors, he noted every turn, every door. He counted guards and cameras, all information that might help later. When they reached the lab, Jin was there. The young Vorn scientist was setting up equipment. Her 3 eyes met June's briefly, then looked away. Prepare the subject, Dake ordered Jin. I must attend a meeting with the High Command. Begin the scans when I return. After Dake left, Jin approached June. The guards watched lazily, no longer seeing him as a threat. This will monitor your vital signs, Jin said, attaching small sensors to June's temples. As she worked, she whispered, the resistance is ready. When the lights flicker, be prepared to move. June gave a tiny nod. His heart beat faster, but he kept his face calm. Minutes passed slowly. Jin worked on her equipment while the guards talked among themselves. Then suddenly, a loud alarm blared through the station. Security breach in Section 12, announced a voice over the speakers. All personnel report to emergency stations. The guards looked at each other, confused. Section 12 was far from the lab. You two, go check, ordered the senior guard. We'll stay with the prisoner. As 2 guards left, the lights flickered once, then went out completely. Emergency lights came on, casting red shadows across the room. That was the signal. June moved instantly. In one smooth motion, he grabbed the nearest guard and slammed him against the wall. The guard collapsed, unconscious. The second guard reached for his weapon, but Jin was faster. She shot him with a small device that sent him crumpling to the floor. Quickly, Jin said, removing June's restraints. More guards will come soon. From a hidden panel, she pulled out a bundle and handed it to June. Inside were clothes, a weapon, and a breathing mask. Put these on, she said. The resistance has disabled security on levels 3 through 5. Han is waiting with a transport near the auxiliary docks. Jun changed quickly. What about you? He asked Jin. I must stay, she said. If I disappear the same day you escape, they will know I helped. Before Jun could argue, the door slid open. Both froze, expecting guards. Instead, Han rushed in. Change of plans, he said breathlessly. The military wing has started their move against the science division. The whole station is in chaos. Through the open door, they could hear distant sounds of fighting. Commander Kyung? Jun asked. Han nodded. Apparently, he accused Dak of wasting resources on illegal experiments. It's a full revolt. We should use the confusion, Jin said. More routes will be clear now. They moved into the corridor, which was empty. Red emergency lights flashed everywhere. Announcements blared contradictory orders over the speakers. This way, Han said, leading them toward a service tunnel. They had gone only a short distance when they encountered a group of fighters, humans and aliens together, all armed. Son, Han called. A small woman at the front of the group smiled when she saw Jun. The legend himself, she said. Glad you could join us. Jun recognized her voice from the communication. This was the resistance leader. We need to move, Sun said. The military is clearing a path to the ship bay, but it won't last long. They ran through corridors, occasionally hiding from patrols. Twice they had to fight their way past guards loyal to Deg. Jun moved with new strength. After months of captivity, of being studied and tortured, he was finally fighting back. The weapon in his hands felt right. As they approached the ship bay, Sun looked at Jun with respect in her eyes. Ready to leave this place behind? She asked. Jun nodded, but deep inside, he knew this wasn't just an escape. It was the beginning of something bigger. A real fight against the Vorn. A chance to free others who suffered as he had. More than ready, he said, as they ran toward freedom. 3 days after the escape, Jun sat in a small room on the resistance base. The base was hidden inside an asteroid far from the Vorn station. Here, hundreds of fighters from a dozen species lived and planned together. Sun entered the room with Han and Tak, the gray-skinned alien. How are you feeling? Sun asked Jun. Stronger every day, Jun said. The doctors had treated his wounds and given him proper food. Already he looked more like the soldier he had once been. Good, Sun said, because we need your help. During your captivity, you saw things about the Vorn that no one else has seen. Jun nodded. I watched them closely. Had to survive. Sun activated a screen showing the Vorn station they had escaped from. Tell us what you learned. Anything that might help us fight them. For the next hour, Jun shared everything. He told them about Vorn guard rotations, about weaknesses in their security systems. He described their weapons and how they worked. But most importantly, he told them what he had learned about Vorn biology. During the tests, I noticed something, Jun explained. When they use their mind-scanning equipment, the Vorn themselves become vulnerable. Their brains can't handle the feedback from another mind. That's why they use computers as buffers. Tak leaned forward. So if we could disrupt those computers, the feedback would hit them directly, Jun finished. It could disable them completely. Sun smiled. This is exactly what we needed. A weakness we can exploit. As they talked, the door opened. Commander Kyung entered, now wearing plain clothes instead of his Vorn military uniform. The analysis of Dak's research files is complete, Kyung said. Jun was still getting used to seeing the Vorn commander here. After the escape, Kyung and 30 of his soldiers had defected to the resistance. They had been labeled traitors by the Vorn Empire. What did you find? Sun asked. Proof of illegal experimentation on sentient beings, Kyung said. Enough to turn many more of my people against the science division. He looked at Jun. The tests they performed on you violated our most basic laws. Many Vorn will be outraged when they learn of this. Jun met Kyung's 4-eyed gaze. Can we use that? Yes, Sun said. We've been planning an operation. We're going to broadcast evidence of these crimes across the Empire. Show everyone what their leaders are really doing." She turned to a map of Vorn space. "Their main broadcast hub is here, on Outpost 17. It's heavily guarded, but with what you've told us about their weaknesses, we might have a chance." June studied the map. The Vorn aren't used to enemies who know their weaknesses. They've been the strongest for so long, they've grown careless. Kyung nodded. "Pride is our greatest flaw. We believe ourselves unbeatable." "Every species can be beaten," June said quietly, "and every species can learn to be better." He looked at Kyung. "Your being here proves that." For a moment, the room was silent. Then Sun spoke. "We attack in 2 days," she said. "June, you should rest and recover more before." "I'm going with you," June interrupted. "I need to be part of this." Sun started to protest, but saw the determination in his eyes. This was not just about revenge. This was about finishing what he had started, showing the Vorn that humans never yield, that they fight not just for themselves but for all who are oppressed. "Very well," she said. "You'll lead a strike team. Your mission will be to reach the control room while the main force creates a diversion." June stood, feeling stronger than he had in months. Once, he had been just a prisoner trying to survive. Now he was a symbol of resistance, a leader who could change the fate of not just humanity, but all species under Vorn rule. "When do we start planning?" he asked. "Right now," Sun replied. Outpost 17 loomed ahead, a massive structure floating in space. June looked at it through the window of their small ship. 5 other ships flew with them, carrying the resistance fighters. They all used stolen Vorn identification codes to approach undetected. "1 minute until we dock," Han said from the pilot's seat. June checked his weapon one last time. His team consisted of 6 fighters, 2 humans, 3 aliens from different worlds, and Jin, who knew Vorn systems better than anyone. "Remember," June told them, "our goal is the broadcast center. We get in, we send the evidence, we get out. Sun's team will create a diversion on the lower levels." Everyone nodded. They trusted him, this human who had endured months of Vorn torture without breaking. The ship docked smoothly. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then the doors opened, and the mission began. Using Jin's access codes, they moved through the outpost corridors. Twice they had to hide from patrols. Once they had to fight. But June's team moved like shadows, quickly and quietly. They were halfway to the broadcast center when alarms blared. Sun's diversion had started. "Move faster," June ordered. Now they ran, no longer hiding. They reached the doors to the broadcast center and found them locked. Jin worked on the control panel while the others formed a defensive circle. "Hurry," June said as the sound of running feet echoed down the corridor. "Got it," Jin called. The doors slid open. Inside, 3 Vorn technicians looked up in surprise. Before they could react, June's team had secured the room. "Start the upload," June told Jin. She connected a data chip to the main console and began typing rapidly. "Stop them," a voice shouted from the doorway. June turned and froze. Dake stood there with a squad of guards. The scientist's 4 eyes burned with hatred. "You," Dake hissed, "my test subject, my broken human." "I was never broken," June said calmly. "Kill them all," Dake ordered. The guards raised their weapons, but before they could fire, more shots came from behind them. Sun's team had arrived, led by Kyung.